Passion, drive, and patience. The formula of winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything for you to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED lights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has it covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices that you want. It's easy to make your car the MVP it needs to be and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Again, ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
He is a Jew. He's very funny. He wants more money and more mic time. He's got anxiety. He's got depression. He takes pills so he doesn't lose his mind. He's just a fuck boy. He's not your boy toy. He is our Sethy boy. He's not your boy toy.
Hey, look at that. See, look, I typed in Bubba the Love Sponge on the philhendrie.com search engine. Wednesday, February 24th, 2010, and then Friday, December 11th, 2009 are the two instances that they have.
Jeez, we need a new mention, Bubba. It's been 14 years. 14 years since a Love Sponge.
Yeah,
there he is.
I need to tell Phil that. Phil, you're on the air with Bubba and my co-host Seth.
Great. I don't have any clothes on. Oh wait, I got a shirt.
You got clothes on, old timer.
Look, can you see me, or are you lucky
you look perfect. You look absolutely perfect. Like the fucking stud that you are.
Hall of Famer.
Hall of fucking Famer. I can only. That's what they say. Hey, now, listen, I got a little bit of a problem because I went into philhendrie.com. It's very navigatable. It's the way you've been. I mean, literally, that's how people have been hearing you since I think 14, right?
Yeah.
10 years.
About 13, 14, yeah.
And I haven't been mentioned. I typed in the search engine Bubba the Love Sponge because a couple of times you have mentioned me, and it's quite the honor to have been mentioned as a radio guy on Phil Hendrie. And I think
you're going to go in there today, that's for sure, man, because I'm doing this.
I remember one time you were like, somebody was bitching about Barack Obama having fried chicken on the Air Force One, and somehow I got mentioned. Bubba the Love Sponge got mentioned. I don't know. You know, in your head, I don't know how the fuck that happened, but I don't know how it happened, but it did. And I gotta tell you. So, now? Are you in Florida right now?
No, dude. I'm in California.
You're in California.
Just crawled out of the sack. That's how much in California I am.
That's right, because you don't start your show till 9:00 California time.
I don't even start a show. I mean, my show is completely recorded, Bubba, so I could start it right now and finish it at 6:00 tonight, so long as I get it out there by tomorrow.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I don't do anything live anymore.
How much, can you do it all yourself, or do you have to have at least one guy?
I do it all myself. I mean, it's basically about a half an hour, and I do it every day. And I'm editing it myself. I have my studio here, and yeah, it's pretty no fuss, no muss.
When did you stop doing the live show, Phil?
When it was live, I was doing it live for a while online. I think I did it for about a year on TuneIn. Remember TuneIn?
Yeah.
I don't know if TuneIn's still around.
Yeah, it's still around. It still steals people's shit. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I talked to those guys. They said, we think you guys, what we'd like to do is feature your classic archive, a bunch of horse dung that never really came to fruition. But I stopped doing it I started thinking, why am I getting up early in the morning doing this live? People are doing on-demand listening now. This is what the internet's all about. So I said, screw it, man. I'll just record it and put it out there and make sure it's out there daily. And that's probably all people really require. So
And at the end of the day, man, I mean, like I still have 4 or 5 terrestrial affiliates just because I'm so old school that I'm afraid to let them go. But digital pays for about 95% of the 95% of the freight digital pays for. I'm just afraid. I'm an old school radio guy like you are. That I'm afraid, and maybe I need a prodding from a Hall of Famer like you that that just says, listen, let it go, let that bullshit terrestrial radio morning show mentality go. Just fucking let it go and do your own shit and do it at your own convenience.
No, man, I you know what's best for you. And I was talking to somebody the other day. They said, people tell me this all the time. They go, radio, is going to make a comeback. Radio, and not that radio needs to make a comeback, but live radio. And I'll tell you something, Bubba. My buddy's daughter, Katie, she just married a great guy. His name's Cam, and Cam and I were talking. Cam's in his late 20s. He listens to live radio every morning. I said, dude, are you kidding me? You're like 28.
Like the fucking Woody Show or some bullshit like
this
that.
This cat listens to news, man. And I go, you're kidding me, man. I mean, a guy your age, I thought you cats are like completely off the news. No, every day I'm listening to morning drive. I'm listening to afternoon drive when I'm driving home, because what he wants is the immediacy of the news unfolding live, people talking about it, then people reporting it, and then people, sort of putting it to bed. But he wants that. And so there's an audience for that immediate kind of conversation. Man.
For that small niche, just that small little bullshit niche.
I don't know, man. I think it's larger than we think.
But here's the deal. Here's the problem, Phil. Here's why terrestrial radio's fucked. Is they didn't replace the Howard Sterns. They didn't replace the Tom Likas, the Phil Hendries, the Neil Rogers, the Bubba the Love Sponge, the Man Cows, the people, the Opie and Anthony's. They didn't have any young kids that they taught the craft of radio. Remember when we were going through the ranks, we would have like a Mark Driscoll or somebody like that air check us and go through an air check and be like, Phil, why the fuck would you say right now it's 78 degrees when everybody knows it's fucking right now? And they didn't have any minor league system for any of the big boys. Now, I wasn't near the franchise you were, but I'm kind of in that next rung down. Like, it's you and Howard and, Rush.
I don't know, man. I think you're in terms of your presence, you're far better known than me. On the radio, I think so.
I don't think.
For the very things that you say are kind of antiquated. I've seen your operation, bro. Remember when I was down there?
Yeah.
Thoroughly professional operation. You keep on with that presence, that brand that you have that's enormous and amazing. I'm like just some guy who gets up in the morning, crawls down to my studio and throws some stuff on the tape and
but you're so fucking. And here's the thing, man. You are so fucking talented that the first time I got a story for you. It's November of 2005.
I bet it's about you, Bubba.
It's about me. No, it's fuck you, Seth, you bitch. So I'm flying to New York City to Don Buchwald's office, and they're getting ready. They're trying to throw together the Howard 100, Howard 101
That's right.
channels. And so I fly in there. I've never met Howard. I competed against him in 4 or 5 markets where I talked shit about him and he talked shit about me. You just standard shit. And so I go in there and I walk into the Stark room and there he is. And I mean, listen,
like the Wizard of Oz.
That's fucking that's that's the guy. Like, I mean, that's the guy. That's the fucking guy. That's the Tom Brady. And he walks in and we start talking about radio. And he goes, well, who's your favorite radio guys? Growing up, he goes, obviously, you're applying to do afternoon drive here, but who are some of your influences? And I go, well, the top of my list comes Phil Hendrie. I said, then I grew up with Kevin Matthews and a lot of the WLS stuff in Chicago, Dick Bionday. I said, and then I said, a little bit of Tom Likas just because I'm know the radio landscape, so to speak. And he goes, wow. And I said, here's the deal. You got to throw Jim Rome in there just because he's so fucking good at reset.
Original.
God, and you listen to his interviews, and he has the best art of reset. Like subconsciously, every 3 minutes.
He's so prepared. That's why.
Like, Jim Rome with Bill Belichick on the phone for another few minutes, and then he'll go on, and then just like clockwork, and 90 seconds later, Bill Belichick on the phone with us for a few more minutes. Like, he's just so fucking smooth. And then you got to give the guy his due. Rush Limbaugh. I mean, for the
I'll tell you about Rush. I always get into this problem. I try to tell people Rush was an original in terms of his presentation, and they always just start shitting all over me about his politics. I go, look, you got to be able to separate that, man.
Right.
I'm talking about Rush as the art of broadcasting that Rush Limbaugh brought to the air, brought talk radio back, man. It brought it back. It made it possible for me and other cats like you. And so I got no problem putting Rush Limbaugh there because I'm a broadcaster, you are, and I understand what the craft is as opposed to people getting emotional about message,
Well, the craft, though, is very few know it. And very few know that you can develop characters and that you can develop inner drama when you're in. Like that's what you have absolutely done better than anybody. That's developed these characters and the inner drama between the steakhouse guy and I think one of your if I remember right, one of your very first characters was a bad guy that was Iraqi Raj, that after 9/11, and he would call in and get just so fucking full hot on being pro Iraqi, and he would talk all this shit, and people thought it was real, and people were going fucking absolutely crazy on the deal.
Yeah. Well, you find a topic that's really organic and you run with it, man. And during that particular time, we had the situation in the Middle East and Raj, but, you want to make it funny too. So he'd say things like, you people with your fast food, God damn, and he'd get into the whole supersizing stuff. And this is the whole thing with American. Why don't you go get yourself a burger or something, go get a big malt and you'll feel better. And of course, now you're attacking the actual grassroots culture of the country. That's what made it fun. But we discovered that there was some stuff that was automatic. Like if you talked about kids, bang, here come the parents. If you talked about flying, believe it or not, pilots, we got 1 million pilots to tell you what's up. If you talk about just certain topics, no matter what was going on, it could be the most boring day in the world. And if you hit people in the right place, they're going to call you and talk to you about that stuff. So
Phil Hendrie on the phone. Phil Hendrie, freshly nominated to the Radio Hall of Fame. That came out of nowhere, Phil. Like I hadn't seen you as a nominee for the last. Then boom, next thing you know, you're there.
We thought you were in.
I thought you were already in.
I was shocked to hear it. I told people I got a snowball's chance in hell of getting in the Radio Hall of Fame. Are you kidding me? In fact, that's exactly what I said to them when they sent me the note, and called me. And I just didn't think that the radio establishment would want to have anything to do with Phil Hendrie, because my show was a hard sell, man, and it was a tough show.
Well, at one time, you were on 120 affiliates, though. I mean, you were fucking rolling at one time.
We were doing pretty good. But then we'd have all these affiliates saying, like, "I don't get it." Well, what's to get, man? Don't you understand what I'm doing here? It's a satire of talk radio. It's a satire of radio, and maybe that's what they didn't like. But
I don't think a lot of them could comprehend that you were making fun of the industry in itself. Like they didn't understand that it's a satire of the job that you're doing.
Pretty much, yeah. And
so anyway, my story, Howard, I asked Howard, true story. I go through my guys. I go, who's yours? And he goes, fucking Phil Hendrie. That's what Howard said. He goes, Phil Hendrie. And then I think it was Cousin Brucey, some New York shit, Cousin Brucey and some stuff like that. But, when you got, radio people appreciate you the most. I think, just because they know how hard what you do is.
We said he's your favorite radio guy's favorite radio guy.
Yes, exactly. You should actually, you should, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, Phil, because you're fucking the man, but you might want to say, what, at the Hall of Fame, I just want to let you know that I've been described as the radio guy's favorite radio guys.
I mean, it's hard for me to believe any of that stuff. It's like when people tell me that some guy told me the first time his wife laughed in about 6 months was when she was coming out of a coma, and she was listening to my show. I don't know whether to laugh at that, or feel touched by it.
That should be a bit. She should be calling from her deathbed, and she's like, I just want to let you know, the first time I laughed is when I heard you, Phil, that you're back on the air. I'm at philhenry.com. I'm downloading all the old shit.
Phil, just because we're massive radio nerds, can you just explain the process of when you're going and you're going to do a call, with one of your characters? How many lines do you write out? How much preparation goes into that before you execute it? Or are you making all this stuff up on the fly?
Well, you know what you're going to do. You bullet point the bit, okay?
Right.
By bullet point, you guys know what I mean.
Sure.
By bullet point, you put down, okay, I'm going to go here. I want to go here. You can't write it out. It's impossible
Right.
because but you improv. So, and that's one of the beauties of our business and what we do is the improvisation's great. I love improvisation. I like to do it, but you got to have a structure. So that happens before. I turn on the mic, and sometimes while I'm working, I'll sketch some things out. Then you just go with the improv. You go with the character. And Stephen King said something that's really smart. He says, story follows character. Character doesn't follow story. So you have to have the character. Then the story flows from the character. How would this character do that? How would, I don't know, whatever we're doing, right? Like climate change. How would Raj Finine deal with that? I actually invented a character named Dr. Ron Tarner. And suddenly all this medical stuff started coming out and all this environmental stuff.
How did Ron Tarner feel about COVID?
Here's what Rod Tarter would say.
Yeah, I'd be like, hey, I got Rod Tarter on the phone. Rod, what's going on, buddy?
It's fantastic, Bubba. I'm honored to be on the program. COVID, right now, we don't really know what it is. I know people are getting sick, but we're getting closer to knowing. Well, it's a virus, don't you?
And it's a virus.
You could call it that. I don't know. I don't know whether it's something in the water or what. I mean, I had a pilot named Mark Griego, and people love this. He'd say, Phil, I've been flying for 40 years. We don't still know how airplanes get off the ground. It's something we're still studying. Wait, you fly every day? Yeah, every pilot is scared to death every time he gets behind the controls. The passengers don't know this. So you don't know how it flies. No, I don't have no idea how it flies. I just know I push the buttons and it goes up.
A lot of people don't realize is that Phil's first radio station was in Winter Park. And
WBJW.
And he went out, his mom and dad separated, and somehow he ends up in, I think, a construction job in Orlando building Walt Disney. And
yeah, I was working construction. And you know who else worked construction for many years? Adam Carolla.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That cat was in it for like 10 years, which is a little loony there, Adam. But for about 3 years, I was a cement finisher. I was a rod buster. I was hauling freaking concrete. And
did you like Orlando? Did you like it?
I like the girls I met, man. At that time, the only reason for living in those days was women.
Let's talk about. I have often talked about, and I'm just going to be very honest, and it's probably
sluts kept Phil alive. Thank God.
Well, I could never talk to Howard about this because Howard didn't participate in it like I did, but I participated, and I grew. My radio era is just about 3 years later than his, and so I can only imagine. If the slut groupie factor in Tampa, Florida in 1992 was the level that I participated in, I can only imagine because you were in Miami. You were the big slinging dick in Miami.
Yeah.
You've been the big slinging dick in L.A. You've been the big slinging dick in, every place that you've gone to, you've been the it guy. And did you partake in all the groupie ass that I did? Because I would do 2-a-days.
I didn't do that, but I was talking about when I was a construction worker.
No,
when I got into radio, then it really got crazy. Yeah.
If you were picking up ass as a concrete finisher, and when you're being the night guy at fucking BJW, fuck, you were probably slaying.
Hey, dude, let me give you a story. I was working overnight, late night at BJ 105, which was sort of contemporaneous with Q105, which was the big CHR station in the country. Bill Tanner and all those cats. And this this woman calls me and invites me over to her house. This is a woman in her late 40s, dude. I'm 22.
Yeah, that's hot.
That's the first piece of ass I got that was like 20 plus years older than me. Okay.
And was she a radio? And she was a radio groupie too.
She loved my show. She thought I was, I don't know if she thought I was great. She liked the music. She just wanted to see this young dude, 22, in her house, and I was a better man for it when I left that morning.
Well, I got it too, and then you know how to work like I do. So then we incorporate them into the show the next day. Like I know all the fucking tricks like you do, buddy. You incorporate them onto the show, and then they're like, then you send. Oh yeah,
I didn't want to. And the other thing is, I didn't want to get married. People say, "Why don't you get married?" I said, "I'm not going to drag a woman and a kid across the country with this career." I knew what I had to do with this career, man, and I did not want.
I didn't get married until I got to Tampa, and I knew this was going to be.
And you got settled down, man.
Right?
Yeah,
and then Hogan obviously had to fuck my wife, so how that went.
That kind of sucks, but other than the plan seems solid.
The plan seems solid until. But here's what the fucked up thing is, Phil, is that everybody knows that Hogan fucked my wife. But everybody thinks that I was like the fucking cameraman right up in there, and then
That's what I heard.
Yeah, exactly. So I was the cameraman, which I wasn't, and then I went and shopped the tape to make all this money, and none of that's true.
How did that shit go out like that? How did that happen?
I had an employee steal it from my studio, and then he went and brokered it in L.A. and all these L.A. companies are like, listen, we don't have, if you don't have a 2257 consent form on these people, we can't do anything about it. So they pick up the phone, the bad guys. Well, then they extorted Hogan. With the FBI had a sting in a hotel room. They extorted Hogan for $1 million, and on this dummy check kind of deal. Keith Davidson, who is part of the Trump trial and stuff, represented the people that owned that stole the tape from me. They arrested them, and then when they found out who the victim would be, me, Bubba the Love Sponge, they fucking dropped the whole damn thing because they're like, Bubba the Love Sponge.
Great.
Bubba the Love Sponge doesn't make for a good victim,
Jesus. I heard all that shit. You're right, and I didn't give a shit, just so you know. I could care less. I don't know what was going on with you, man. It didn't make you a bad guy in my mind.
Us DJs, we like to fuck a lot of hoes. I mean, like, we can't help it.
Yeah, you know what? It happens. But now that you're telling me this shit, I mean, what I heard, didn't it put some company out of business, man?
Gawker. So Hogan went and sued Gawker, the people that published it. But Cox Media, they're the people that sent it to Gawker.
Oh,
and
Jesus.
Hogan sued them in a second lawsuit, and they settled. And rumor has it, so I don't know this to be true, is that Hogan they settled for $55 million. They gave Hogan $55 fucking million, and that radio guy who shopped it took my job, has my job.
At the station you were at?
Yeah, at the station I was doing mornings at, syndicated. He stole it while I was there. Shopped it, but the station thought I was the bad guy, and they're like, we can't have the morning guy letting his wife fuck Hogan, so we got to fire him. So after the first trial, I was already fired. They finally figured out who really did broker it, and it was one of their guys, and he still fucking got a job.
He's still got a job. What? Why don't you sue somebody, man?
Well, I did. I did, and they pretty much fuck. I mean, it's like, I'm Bubba the Love Sponge. I'm the bad guy. I'm the bad guy.
You don't make for a good.
It's like a drug dealer calling the cops up and saying somebody ripped off my cash.
Somebody ripped my money. Oh man. Well, have you learned your lesson? You're not hanging around with all those assholes now. You're with a higher class person like me.
Yeah, I'm with a Hall of Famer like you. Now, oddly enough,
do you still have the big compound there?
Oh yeah, I'm exactly where you saw me. The only thing
I love that place, man. It was like tropic, and
oh yeah, and now since you've been here, we've added in the back. We have 2 goats that live back there by the pond.
Perfect.
Nice little habitat from them. We've turned the upstairs into like a little clubhouse, so there's a clubhouse up there.
Sweet.
And then when you first walked in, all that area where I had people answering the phone and all that shit, you don't need those people anymore. So I bought all this gym equipment and put like in the front deal. So it's
awesome, man.
We're only a cup of Kool-Aid away from being David Koresh. Because the Bubba Army is much like, you and I may not have the cume that we used to have, but we have the hardcore P1s.
The people, man. Yeah, that's true.
That will pay to hear us.
Yeah.
And we can make a living on. We really can.
It's pretty cool. That all of a sudden we're entrepreneurial. And I have a character I do named Tom Dovka. He's a radio consultant, and he's like every consultant I ever had, and probably you too. It's like, why don't you just do what I tell you to do? Why do you say no? Because I don't want to do what you tell me. What? It's like it's unheard of, And so all those guys are kind of out of a job now.
Yeah. Man. I mean, radio. I mean, if you look at the financial security or the financial livelihood of iHeart, Odyssey, Cox, Beasley, Cumulus. I mean, they're all selling their towers, filing for bankruptcy, cutting talent. And here's the thing. Radio doesn't care about guys like me and you anymore because...
If they ever did,
Well, they did. They did.
Yeah.
They cared. They really thought that what we did was worth something, and that we could garner an audience, and our cume would be high, but our TSL would be through the fucking roof, and which would give us a good share. And we had the Randy Michaels and the guys that didn't mind complaint calls and things like that. And now radio's put its head in its sand and buried its head in the sand. They're afraid of any type of controversy, any type of phone call.
Anybody who potentially wants to make more than minimum wage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say all this, because these are everybody. I think if you think that way, and I've already been thinking that way, then everybody in the business seems to realize that the cats that kept this business alive are the talent. And I hate to say this because I know a few GMs that I really love and admire. One of them was Bob Green that I worked for in Miami, but most of the technocrats, the programmers, and the general manager, the guys that drove this business into the ground, the guys that were supposed to have the brains to keep this thing flying, the Dickey brothers at ABC. Boy, that makes me laugh, those clowns. I mean, all of these guys were supposedly the brains behind what we did. An entire industry collapsed. And it wasn't like newsprint, which is gone, and you understand why it's gone. Nobody's going to whip out a newspaper and do that. But radio had an adjunct. It had the internet. It had a parallel track that it could offload programming and begin to sort of combine the two and make it continue its live relevance, and at the same time have this streaming aspect to it.
Phil, when did you kind of adopt that? I saw you speak at a morning show boot camp convention in Chicago in 2015, 2016, and you pretty much curb stomped radio for 45 minutes. You pulled out your phone, you go, everybody's got one of these, this is where you need to be. And if it seemed like you were ahead of the game, when did you start to see the decline in radio and that you needed to be more digital?
Well, like when I went on to TuneIn, as soon as I left the radio, the terrestrial thing, and I'm on TuneIn, and I wasn't really pulling any more advertisers. I wasn't really, you expect, well, what are you going to get with just word of mouth? But the fact is, I knew that everybody was doing their appointment listening now. They had their phones, they had their whatever, and they weren't just going to get up early in the morning at 9 o'clock and listen to Phil Hendrie, and they weren't going to figure out where they could find it on their car. How do I put an app on the screen here? They were just going to listen to me when they listen to me, and I kind of had to have it beat into my own head that you don't need to be getting up and doing it live here, Phil. It's like what Bubba was just saying. He knows terrestrial is sort of on its way out, and yet you just sort of your
I'm afraid.
Routine,
I'm like, Phil, I'm really genuinely afraid to let go of the
Don't be
6-7 affiliates that I got in the mornings. I'm just like, I'm like, oh my God.
Well, that's cool. I mean, you respect them and you're serving them, and that's all right, man. But you do you really don't have to be afraid.
Here I do mornings, which means I get up at 4 o'clock, and you can't have a life if you have mornings. You can't go out at night and go to dinner, and it's just and I've been doing it for so long that the dream day part would be mid. I always used to make fun of the midday guys,
Midday's perfect.
You'd be like, man, fuck middays. That guy's got to play 8 records an hour. I'm talking all morning long. Fuck middays. But I mean, middays, like 10 or 11 to 2 or noon to 3. That would be the jam. And I think that's what you do for the most part. So, when you tape.
Well, you have to, yeah. But I mean, I got so much else happening now. I shouldn't say I got so much, I'm Mr., I'm just so working all the time, but I'm doing voiceover. I actually stick my ugly mug in front of a TV camera every now and again. Somebody hires me to be an actor. And
you've been you've actually acted, you've probably acted next to, who is the cat? Jay Thomas. Probably next to Jay Thomas, you're the next biggest radio guy with the amount of screen time on acting. I got to think that you're number 2 behind Jay.
I don't know, man. Jay was on some big movies, and
were you and Jay close?
No. I don't think Jay actually liked radio people, to be honest with you.
How about listen, I'm going to ask you some. Listen, I don't know of any of your struggles or any of your fights or anything like that. So if I bring a name up that's taboo, please already forgive me. But okay, Rick Dees.
Yeah, I finally met Rick after he'd left the business, and a hell of a nice guy. Nice man, was complimentary, and we were at a couple of radio panels together. And I can't. How do you fault a guy that was as successful as him? How do you?
Boy, and did he have the? I mean, they were paying him. I think I heard back in the day that it was $6 million, like
a year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I heard from really good sources that he was like in his last couple deals were like $4 to $6 million a year.
Hey, God bless him, man, for getting it. I mean, that was the kind of bread that they were making. Los Angeles, the market, I thought I heard something along the lines of it was, maybe this is too, like a $500 million a year advertising market.
In
or am I
in LA? I
in
think
LA,
you're probably right.
LA alone, yeah, is
what do you
insane.
think what do you think the big boys, like the big morning guys now, are making in LA? Like, like back in the day, I mean, you could pull when you were on KFI, you were probably making a ton of money, were you not?
Well, when I had the best year I made a couple of million, but that was also some television pilot money,
right?
And it's that kind of thing. I think for radio, my best year was probably a little bit over $1 million, but now I hear everything's getting cut back. I don't know what they're willing to. I don't think they're willing to pay people everything.
They take barter. Now it's barter. Now
they give you 2 extra vacation days.
It's now I'm hearing that it's barter, or it's like pennies on the dollar, and then they're going to allow you to go and do what you and I do. But but these people don't have 39,000 hours of content like you and I do.
Yeah,
they haven't owned their own intellectual property. They just do a fucking show right now, and the company owns the property, so they don't have anything to even build. Show one, I guess you could start out. So they're giving these guys opportunities on YouTube and various other places, but these guys are lost because they're telling you either take a 50% haircut. And you're allowed to go do your own YouTube channel and all that kind of shit, or you're fired. That's right. Or you're fired.
Yeah, I did hear that some big cats, a couple of them, people I know took, every year they're taking a pay cut every year.
Yeah, they're like, I know a guy from Denver. He's the number 1 rated guy. BJ Harris with Jamie White. You're probably familiar with Jamie White from back.
I know Jamie. Yeah.
And I think BJ was making. They were number 1 persons 2554 morning drive Denver, and I think before shit got real bad, I think their last contract is they were making like $250 a person. Which, man, you can. I mean, that's Denver. You can live on
pretty
that.
good bread.
That's not bad. That's pretty good bread. Now, that's not good bread in L.A. I mean, you're not going to do shit in L.A. with that.
Well, I'd take it. $250K if somebody throw that at me, sure.
Well, I mean, but you also have your ancillary shit to
well, yeah, you have to. And here's the thing: you and I came up in this business, man. It was what we knew. It's what we loved. It's what we wanted to do. So we were building from the time we were kids, from the time we were teenagers. We were building our thing.
Right.
It just was who we were. You can't get into this business as some dude who used to be a businessman or in advertising. I think I'd like to do a talk show. And you've seen these guys come and go, man. And they got sheared, man, when everything sort of went south about 10 years ago. So
my guy from Denver at what is it, Odyssey, they're like, hey, the new number is $125. Take it or leave it. And, we'll play fucking music and not have a personality. And that's what, and, we'll allow you to go and do your YouTube, and you can do some podcasting and shit like that. And he's like, well, I haven't prepared or built that infrastructure. People don't realize how much infrastructure that you and I have had to build.
You got to do, from the very beginning. And, I have 60,000 hours in my how much content do you have on your website, man? Because I know you've got a lot of stuff.
Probably 20 or 22 years worth. So I would say, I forget.
We got to figure out how many thousands of hours. So that sounds cool.
How many hours is that? Yeah.
I think I have 15 terabytes.
Well, we got to know years. Let's turn that into 37 years, Bubba.
No, well, I mean, I would say Phil, probably 20 to 25,000 hours of shit.
Right. That's huge, man. That's a huge number, man. I got 60, and there's cats out there that have similar numbers, and that just doesn't happen overnight.
Hell no. Like I said, if you're my buddy BJ, what do you tomorrow you start show 1 of the new BJ show? Like, you're fucked.
Yeah. People don't know, well, what happened to all that other stuff, man? God, I've got 2 sets of fans. I got the people who love the digital show that I do, and then everybody that just is married to the radio. If I didn't have that radio stuff online, everybody'd run away, but they're all like, I just went into the archive, man, and I listened to that bit.
Oh yeah, you gotta have a huge, and mine's BubbaArmyHQ.com. Of course, yours is Phil Hendrie. .com.
Phil Hendrie Show, right?
Phil Hendrie Show.
PhilHendrieShow.com, yeah.
.com. I have a search engine just like you do. So like you can type in Phil Hendrie or like I typed in Bubba the Love Sponge and I haven't been out
anything
since 2010, motherfucker. I thought we were closer than that, bitch.
I guarantee it, man. You'll be in there.
I mean, last time I was serving chicken to Barack Obama. I mean, get me in there doing something now. Come on, buddy.
All right, dude. I'm sorry about that. I don't know. You could type in Howard Stern's name, man. You're going to find him in there. I don't know that we keyword it that way. I think most of it is like Ted Bell and all these other characters we created. And
I was trying to find. My guys didn't quite find it before they left, but I have the 2 times that Phil did mention me. And I was going to try to play him for him today, but I don't think we have the capabilities of playing down the line. I don't think.
I'm sure I'm sure he'll be good, Bubba, if he doesn't hear him shouting you out.
Yeah, you're sure Phil's going to be okay if he doesn't hear himself
think he'll get
shouting
through the day.
me out?
Yeah,
I think that's my own ego trying to cut right into it.
Yeah.
I got to find that bit now. I got to find that Barack Obama eating chicken.
And
of course, your name came up.
Yeah, and you were being really it was kind of like cringe, like where you were going with it. But since another character was saying it, you were like, man, quit being racist. You're trying to tell. And the one guy's like, let me tell you something, man. That Barack Obama, he's got some collard greens and some chicken and everything.
Shit.
And then you're like, no, sir, please don't act that way. Stop being racist. And just because he's black doesn't mean you have to have fried chicken on the airplane. And he's like, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about, Phil. You fucking asshole.
How did your name drop into that?
I don't know. I think that you're like, somebody said, Bubba the Love Sponge is on the other line. Like, tell Bubba to hold on or something like I can't get in your fucking crazy head.
Phil was so high for that show.
Yeah, Phil was so high. Phil, do you get high? I mean, we get high. Do you get high?
Oh, not for many, many years, man. Not
really?
For many, many years. And everybody in my life does. In fact, I got a blunt from somebody. It's sitting here wrapped up in foil. In California now, it's legal. They got weed bars down in Hollywood. You drive down the street, you get a contact high if the windows are rolled down. And I'm not kidding.
Now we're getting ready. Florida's getting ready to vote on recreational in November via referendum, and they're saying it's going to pass. And so
Sure.
You guys have rec. I don't know if our rec bill will be the same as your rec bill, but I mean, is it just wide open in Cal? Like just wide the fuck open?
Yeah, dude, absolutely. I could go over to the marijuana factory right now. There's a place down the street called the Skunk Mill. There's a couple of places in Port Hueneme where I live I live in about 30 miles north of LA, and you can go anywhere. And it's pretty cool. I mean, my girlfriend at the time, Barry, who I love very much, and she's not feeling well. Barry, I want to say hi to you. Barry has been smoking weed. As a lot of people, it's medicinal. Okay, a lot of people.
It really is.
Works with the brain chemistry, man. Yeah. So. I looked at this place and I'm like amazed. They got joints that are rolled into packages. They got a cat there who's chopping up hash. It's like the weed smoker's dream, man. And
man, I'd be down there getting high every day before your show. Can you imagine how fucking? I mean,
no, I can't do that. I can't get high.
You can't get high before a show?
No, not even drink. No, because everything's kind of off. I know guys that go out and golf on a case of beer. I couldn't swing a golf club either. So.
Well, I mean, that's just because you suck at golf. I mean.
Yeah, well, that's my excuse. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now, are you currently dating a girl from Florida still?
Yeah, my girl Jackie. She lives down in Melbourne, and we're making plans for her to come out here, or maybe Phil Hendrie goes to Central Florida. Because here's the thing.
Listen,
man.
Central Florida blows. I mean, LA's a shithole. I mean,
Central Florida blows. I mean, LA's a shithole.
I mean, it's a shithole.
It's
Phil.
Melbourne, though, Bubba.
No, hold on.
LA's my home, bro. I mean,
I know.
This is where I grew up. This is my place. But here's the thing about the entertainment business. People are saving money by shooting shit all over the country now, man. So and here's the other thing that I want to do. My real plan is to go on stage and do my show improv in theaters, okay? Because I did a set at the Upright Citizens Brigade, which is an improv theater here in Hollywood, and it was received really great, man. I was doing a couple characters. So I think the future for Phil Hendrie is going on stage and doing a live show in addition to the other stuff that I do online, So
kind of more like a Henry Rollins spoken word kind of deal?
Only comedy. Yeah.
Doing
the characters.
But what you do, Henry's intense. Henry wants to talk. By the way, very, very good friend of mine too. I think that he's
he was on the documentary.
Yeah, we watched your documentary. Trailer.
Henry's great. He's a great guy. And
did you know when I got fined by the FCC, the largest single fine, $755,000? There were 2 people that wrote letters to the United States Congress and Henry Rollins, Mick Foley, the pro wrestler, wrote one. And Henry Rollins wrote a letter to Fred Upton, the congressman from Michigan, who was all behind Nipplegate, saying that this is absolutely just a fucking wit. And here's the deal: what started out as a television problem, Janet Jackson Nipplegate, ended up radio. Me and Howard were the two casualties from it. So what the fuck? Like you took a TV problem and turned it into a radio indecency problem.
That's exactly what was wrong with our business. They weren't backing up talent. They should have. You think Les Moonves is going to go and talk to all of his stars and say, don't be bad people? No, he goes to Washington and tells them to pack it right back up their ass where they found it.
Right.
He backs up his talent. In our business, they did not back us up. They ran off to Washington, D.C., listened to the threats, came back and told us, you know what happened to me? It wasn't a big thing. But I was told that I got a jingle, Ted's of Beverly Hills. We want to put our meat in your mouth. That's the song.
Right.
That's the song. Look.
Which, by the way, Ted Bell, one of your biggest characters. I love a great deal just as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to crawl through a bed of hot coals or go out of my way just to save a few bucks. And if I am, man, it's got to be easy. No hoops, no BS. So when Mint Mobile says it's easy to get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, I'm going to call them out on it. Turns out, it's really that easy. It's that easy to get wireless for $15 a month. The longest part of the process was the time I spent on hold waiting to break up with my old provider. That's a nightmare. Wish everything was as easy as Mint. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk-to-text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your old phone number with you, along with all of your existing contacts. To get this new customer offer with your 3-month premium wireless plan for only $15 a month, you must go to mintmobile.com/Bubba. That's mintmobile.com/BUBBA. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Bubba. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower on 40 gigabytes on unlimited plans. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
Okay, it's time to commit. 2024 is the year for prioritizing yourself. Begin your new smile journey with Byte, and you could start seeing results in just 2 to 3 weeks. Just order your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95 at Byte.com. Byte clear liners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces, plus they offer financing options, accept eligible insurance, and you could pay with your HSA, FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
All owns Ted Steakhouse right outside of Beverly Hills. All the fucking stars are there. He's got the gossip on everybody. I mean, that's by far one of my favorite characters. And so you had Ted Bell's meat in your mouth, and they made you fucking dump it.
And so we want to put our meat in your mouth. So I had to beep it. And now most people would say, we want to put our beep in your mouth. We beep the other one. We want to put our meat in your beep. Which was
well, that's actually dirtier.
It's filthier, far filthier.
That is. It's far filthier.
It worked.
So if you remember, during those congressional hearings, Clear Channel had just got rid of Randy Michaels. Mel Karmazin was in the process of leaving CBS for SiriusXM. And so, when you had Mel and Randy in the business, you actually had people that, Randy Michaels used to call me up and say, hey, are you on vacation? And I'm like, no. He goes, we haven't had any fucking complaint calls here at corporate in like 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I'm like, I was like, all right. So I would,
cool.
do something to fucking get a bunch of complaint calls. The worst trouble I ever got, Phil, is it was around Christmas time. I'm on this top 40. Was in the Power Pig. Remember the legendary Power Pig?
Power Pig, yeah, I do.
I'm on the Power Pig. I'm the Night Jock. Bubba the Love Sponge. I got so much fucking bullshit going on. I'm saying I'm the homie with the big baloney, and my dad owns the radio station, so don't even try to get me fired. And,
That's
I'm
great.
clocking hose and whatever. And so it's like 2 weeks before Christmas, and I get on the air at 7 o'clock, and I'm like, it's 7:05, Power Pig, Bubba the Love Sponge, and I have absolutely the most important announcement for all you young people. It's for young people only. Usually I tell you not to call me. I call all you young people fetuses, and I tell you to hang up. I ask how big your mom's boobs are and things like that, but I don't want to have anything to do with kids. I hate kids, and so please. But this is the one opportunity that I'm pro-kid, and it's going to be at 8:30 tonight, and I need all the children that I am usually mean to listen to the show at 8:30 tonight. So comes around 8:30 at night. We had like maybe 12, maybe 11 phone lines. I get all 11 full of kids. Johnny, are you there? How old are you? Yeah, this is Johnny. I'm 6. Sally, are you there? Yeah, this is Sally. I'm 9. So I go through all of them, and I said, I just want you to know one thing. Santa Claus ain't real. He ain't real.
I heard about that.
He ain't real. And it's your mom and dad and everything. That's all a big lie. And look at your parents and tell them to be honest with you and tell you the truth. I almost got fired over it. And
I can dig it. I remember that. Yeah.
And they had to hire a temporary phone answering agency to answer all the complaint calls. And the radio station got sued by 2 different parents saying I ruined Christmas for them. And they had, $1,900 in damages from all the toys that they had bought and stuff like that.
$1,900 in damage.
Yeah. So that I gathered. So that was one of my.
That's totally cool. And that's the kind of bit that I probably would have thought of doing it. Well, you're the guy that thought of it, but it's the direction that I go in. And people say that's very cruel. Every day of my life when I went to school, kids were telling me there was no Santa Claus.
Right.
There was my friends,
Just listen, I'm going to be intellectually honest, and it's probably a little naughty, but just like how us guys learn how to jack off, we learn through our buddies. Our dad never takes us aside.
I discovered I was completely organically independent. Nobody taught me anything.
Nobody taught you, hey Phil, if you pull on it long enough, it starts feeling real good and it spits out some shit.
They didn't, man. I just all of a sudden one day discovered it. I thought I was dying. The first time it happened, I actually thought I was.
My God, dying. And you're like, we can't remember our first nut, but can you imagine how big that first fucking nut is? I mean, right? My God. I mean,
but this is a Hall of Famer. You got to limit the nut talk.
2 fucking beach towels worth, man.
Yeah, Jesus. This is my friend, fucking Phil Hendrie. We could talk about our first nuts together, please. Probably never been. I bet you, Phil's never embarked upon that topic upon radio ever. Probably your first nut.
Not on radio, no.
No,
because you cats already had that territory covered. That was the thing about. Howard, a lot of guys were already exploring all that really, really super forbidden. So I went the other way with what I was doing. I went into crazy shit, crazy shit.
We were into more of the sexual blue shit,
right,
which is
exactly.
really kind of low hanging fruit. You were kind of more into the art of characters and developing characters and storylines, and a little suggestive at times, but not nearly the shit we were spewing.
Well, psycho shit. For instance, I had a character. I had heard that women, when they're giving birth, curse out their husbands. When they're giving birth, they're telling you, piece of shit, you did this to me.
Like, fuck you, Phil. Fuck you.
Yeah. So I had a doctor. His name was Dr. Jim Sadler, and women do get very vocal. They talk about what an asshole I am. You mean when they're having the baby? Oh, yeah. So, yes, on occasion, I'll go ahead and just, pop them one. And this shit. And of course, he takes all the heat. The character, I don't. People
right.
are like,
that's like the time. That's like the time that when you were doing the Barack Obama is got fried chicken, you were yelling at the guy saying, "Sir, please quit being so stereotypical that an African American man wants collard greens and chicken." And he's like, "Shut up, Phil. I know what the plan is." So you can go back and forth and scold that guy.
Well, that's the thing. That's the interesting. And your audience forgives you. They forgive you. So they say, I heard a guy on the Phil show say that he would belt a woman who was cursing too much while she's having. Well, that's Phil doing the character. Well, okay, but still, it's not really Phil. Yeah, that's Phil Hendrie doing it. But once you say it's Phil Hendrie doing a character, all of a sudden it kind of softens, and they're all like, "Oh, okay." It's just like, you mean it's a joke? Yeah, it's a joke.
Did you ever have an opportunity to get to see George Carlin, Phil?
I saw George Carlin in Vegas. Yeah. In fact, George Carlin and I talked.
You did?
We talked on the phone, and I got to Vegas with my wife, and I said, let me just roll the dice and try this. She goes, what? I'm going to call Bally's and see if I can reach George Carlin. I got a message. I said, George, I want to go to your show tonight. I do not want a comp ticket. I just want a good seat. I'm willing to pay for my ticket. Next thing I know, we were comped ringside, dude.
Oh, man.
For George Carlin. And at the end of the show, he says, all right, here are the people that can come backstage. Joe Jones, that crazy motherfucker, Phil Hendrie. And so that was a high point, man, for sure.
Who, like, me talking to you, obviously you're one of my Mount Rushmore radio gods. Who do you think are good radio people?
You, Howard, Jim Rome, you're absolutely right. I like the originals. Art Bell was totally original.
Oh, Art Bell. Did you ever get a chance to Neil Rogers when you were in Miami?
Neil was a total original. Neil was like he was a stand-up comic, also a commentator. He was everything,
He had such a Jewish deadpan approach where, he was such a yenta and he was just such a fucking prima donna that he was like on a whole nother swag level. You know what I'm saying? He'd be like,
well, he was the first guy of all of us to come right out on the air and start bagging on management.
I know. He'd be like, I got this memo right here that says, such and such and such and such, and you got to put it. He's like, they can completely screw off. You know what I'm doing? Yeah. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to leave a half an hour early tonight and tell them to fuck off or something like
basically, that. He had the greatest timing of anybody I ever heard, man. And he had that 360 where all of his drops were. You know how he used to use carts?
Right.
He was the first guy to digitize all that stuff. So he was bang, bang. And it was just crazy. And the other thing that was cool about him is he didn't get any phone calls. He complained about it on the air. He says, I want one person under the age of 100 on the Broward line right now,
And I even heard him one time. The phone lines were slow, and he wasn't getting what he wanted. He was getting some kids and some bullshit. And he's like, I tell you right now, if I don't have a hot female, and and he was gay too. He was openly gay, but he's like, if I don't have a hot female in the next 2 or 3 minutes on the Broward line, I'm going home. And in one instance, he went home. He went home, and like Jimmy, his producer, had to do the rest of the show.
Fill in the rest of the time, yeah. He would do something, and I would say to him, I would come in, I'd say, you know what, I feel shit all day, but when I come here to the radio station, I feel great. He goes, really? Because it's the complete opposite for me. I feel great, and then I come here.
And it sucks. That's right. You worked with him. You worked with him in Miami.
At IOD, Neil was middays 10 to 2, and I got afternoon drive 2 to 6.
Who was mornings back then?
That was Rick and Suds.
Oh, damn, that's a hell of a lineup.
Yeah, Rick and Suds, and then we had Jeff DeForest did sports at night. We had Dolphin football. That's the only station I've ever worked at that was a what do you call it, man? When it's the main
affiliate for a major franchise
that we were allowed to bag on the team. I mean, the Dolphins were paying money, or we were paying them money. I don't know who was paying the money, but they were the flagship for the Miami Dolphins. We were there just ripping Shula and. The whole team. It was quite an education for me.
So, as you say, you're dating a girl from Melbourne.
Jackie was in TV news in Tampa, as a matter of fact. Jackie Bales. There may be some listeners of yours that remember her. She came to Tampa in the early '80s. She worked at WTSP. Is that Tampa?
Yeah, Channel 10. Yeah, Jackie Bales.
Jackie was there. They just had a reunion. In fact, she was at their reunion in Tampa. Then she went to Miami to WSVN. And I met her when she was doing some radio news at WIOD. So,
and that's your girl?
That's my baby. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wasn't she living in Tampa for a little bit?
She lived in Tampa, and then she was dating Mark Potter, the CBS field reporter, and Mark was based out of Miami, so they moved to Miami. And she was at WSVN right there where WIOD used to be, right there, the Causeway. And she was there for a number of years, and then she got married. She had a son. Her son Ryan is a great guy. He's in Orlando, but Jackie and I just hooked up, how everybody does these days, on Facebook. I hadn't talked to her or seen her in years, and we hit it off. So now we're trying to figure out who's moving where, man.
What do you think? She's coming out there. You're not going over here.
I don't know. She wants to stay near her son. Ryan's in Orlando, and I understand that. And it depends on the direction of the business. Like I said, if television keeps leaving Los Angeles and filming all over the place, I mean, I can do my show anywhere. I can set up my studio anywhere.
And there's no state taxes here.
That's what they say. There's no state taxes in Florida. You're right. The only problem is the state's like getting the climate change is beating the crap out of that place, isn't it?
Oh, hell no. Oh, no.
Yes,
No?
we're melting. Yes.
No, I mean, it is. But
The insurance companies are leaving. That's what
yeah,
I've been hearing.
you're pretty. You've done your research, Phil. You've done your Florida fuckery research.
He said he'd rather pay that state tax than
He
get
said
that
I'd rather
coming out
pay
here.
8%.
I love Florida. Some of the greatest days of my life were spent in Florida. So, and now Jackie's there. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind coming back to Florida.
What
especially
city had the best, freakiest groupies?
Oh.
I mean, mine's been Tampa. You got to understand. I went Terre Haute, Grand Rapids, San Antonio, Chicago, Philly, Orlando, Chicago, Milwaukee, Tampa. That's my radio career. And
Atlanta was pretty nuts.
Oh yeah.
Atlanta was pretty nuts. And I hate to say this, man. It's a terrible thing to say. But I hate to say this to you married guys out there. Your wives, they're not being good girls,
Oh
man.
no! I was fucking a lot of married
good
chicks.
girls.
Especially
And,
when you're on the radio. Those wives just love sucking radio guys' dicks. I mean, I'm just for some fucking reason, it's something in the airwaves. But when you get a wife that's not quite so happy, she loves to suck our radio guys' dicks. She really does.
So, yeah, Atlanta's a great city. Miami was fantastic. L.A., what are you going to do? But I've been here for so bloody long.
Right. And today's, well, of course, you have Jackie, and I have a significant other as well. Although she will let me, if I could find an African-American woman that would sleep with me, she will give me that pass. I have that pass.
She'll give you that pass.
I've never been with an African-American woman. It's one of my bucket list things to do.
They're fucking yearning to be with you, Bubba.
I mean, but I can't. I do have that pass. If I could get one that would like me.
Do you know any Phil?
Phil, have you ever been with
I have known.
Have you been with a black girl before?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Of course.
He said Atlanta. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's true.
Atlanta, and I was in love with a beautiful girl named Yvonne up in the Twin Cities. And I came to L.A. I don't know, man. Something just didn't work there.
You were in the Twin Cities?
The hottest chick, one of the hottest women I ever met in my life was Miami, Dion. She was African-American chick that came out to one of my remotes. God damn, was she beautiful. And she had a boyfriend, but that didn't stop her.
Right.
So,
And they say they say those African-American women, they know how to fuck. Like, they know how to,
well,
like,
I don't know. I think they were a lot worse than one of the white women. No, I'm just kidding. No, I wouldn't go that far. I think women.
But see, women back in the day, it was cool because there wasn't a lot of shit going on. So you and me and the type of radio and Stern and Opie and Anthony, we were social networking. Before social networking was out, if you wanted to know what was cool, or you wanted to hear women, or you wanted to hear callers, or you wanted to hear the hip guy tell you what nightclub's cool or what part of town is cool, you didn't have anything on your phone to refer to. You had Phil Hendrie or Bubba the Love Sponge or Howard Stern. So we were the social networking before social networking, came to town, and so we were pretty much the one-stop shopping as everything they needed to know.
Well, yeah, I mean, the radio was like that. Where the concerts were, what clubs were open, who was in town. Yeah, what was going on.
Remember back in the day when we were running hard, man, we would say no to marginal, rock bands. Like, it'd have to be Aerosmith or AC/DC or something like that for me to say, nah, I don't even want the lower bullshit in here.
Far out.
Well,
did you ever say no to anybody that went on to become something, huge?
I was early on Jelly Roll. Jelly Roll, the guy?
Yeah,
I was early on him. I was like, I had him on in 15 and 16 when he was like doing a 200-seat venue. And now he won't return my call. Now he won't come on the show. He was on the show when he was, needed to sell 250 tickets at the Capitol Theater. But now he won't go on the show because he's,
But you had Kid Rock back in like 2000 and stuff.
Yeah.
He had some big acts come through.
I've had them all: Aerosmith, Kid Rock, but probably the coolest. I had Joe Walsh on one time.
Oh, he's great.
And I have him on there, and I just start setting him up. Hey, Joe, you're in town this weekend. You're kind of doing a one-off of the Eagles. So like, with regards to that, like, can you only play the Eagles song that you were part of, or can you play any of the old, catalog? And he didn't want to answer that. So everything was just yes and no. And so then I'm like, listen,
go see the show.
I'm like, yeah, he's real stiff. And so he's like, I'm like, hey, Joe, we got an acoustic guitar here. Could you maybe, play like some acoustic stuff, like maybe Life in the Fast Lane or some kind of bullshit like that? And he's like, no, I don't think so. You need to come out to the show and stuff like that. Well, when he was waiting to get on the air, this was like in 96, 97. And so all the porn industry would send me in order to way to market some of their porn or something like that. So I would like the Digital Undergrounds and all these porn companies would send me these VHS tapes of all their latest titles, all the porn. So we always had about 15 or 20 of these VHS tapes back by my office, and that's where kind of the waiting room was. Well, Joe saw these. And so, you got to understand back and then these guys, there was no satellite TV on top of your bus or anything like that. You were just watching VHS tapes. That's all you were doing on your tour bus, going from town to town. And so he goes, we go into Words. I'm having a tough time. I can't get anything out of him. So I'm like, hey, let's go to Words. And Joe, let's come back and see if we can get Joe to do some stuff. So we get off the air. We got like a 7-minute break. And Joe goes, hey, I was back by your office and I saw these porno tapes. And big asses and, busting cherries and just all this kind of bullshit. I'm like, yeah. All the porn companies, they send them to us so that we'll talk about them or stuff like that. He goes, well, listen, I'm on a tour bus, I don't know how many days out of the year. And I go through this stuff like you wouldn't believe. If I can go out and pick out 10 of your of my favorite titles, I'll play 6 acoustic Eagle songs in a row. I'll go into like a mini concert. I'm like, so he went back there.
What a fucking pervert.
That guy went back there and
Man.
picked out like Squirters 101 and, In the Butt and all this kind of bullshit. And then we came back and it was like a whole nother dude. I'm like, 98 Rock, Bubba the Love Sponge. And Joe's like, Bubba, you ready to go? And the next thing you know, it like hits Life in the Fast Lane and then hits Hotel California and then Desperado. Went into like a 5-song super fucking set just because I gave him Butt Bongos 9 or something like that.
Well, see, you just had to pay him. That was it, basically.
Yeah, you just needed some porn. What was
you reminded me, man, when I was in Miami at 78, I was at WSHE. We were doing Album Rock, and what a time that was, because Joe Walsh was at Bayshore Studios recording But Seriously Folks.
Right.
And Bob Seger was down at Criterion doing Criteria doing his album. There are a lot of cats were down there recording in those days.
Would they ever swing by the station,
Yeah, we got a lot of people coming by the station, man. I had Frank Zappa and I had Hall & Oates came in. I had, I can't even, the best one was Alice Cooper showed up. In those days, when you were doing your show and you had a star on, outside the station, kids would gather because they were listening. They knew that Alice Cooper was there. So when they walked outside, there'd be about 200 kids standing there.
Right.
I had Alice Cooper and Bernie Taupin, if you can believe that. Bernie Taupin was writing with Alice Cooper at that time. And we walked outside, and there's like 500 kids waiting to meet Alice Cooper. And poor Bernie, who's one of the most brilliant lyricists ever, went to put his hand out thinking someone was shake it.
Yeah,
and went by him and shook Alice Cooper's hand.
They go right into Alice Cooper.
But that was a phenomenal time in Miami back when all that recording was going on.
And that was Miami. Like, was that during the cocaine days? Like,
it was, bro. It was back.
It was the Wild West, wasn't it?
Yep. Yeah, it broke out at a shopping center parking lot, and that was the first firefight that I heard about. And then the FBI got involved. It was nuts. Billy Corben made a movie about it, I think.
Oh yeah, he's actually done a couple. I've had Billy on the air a few times. Have you had Billy on the air?
No, I haven't. I know he's a terrific guy.
Oh, he's a great guy, and he's totally
Miami all the way, man. That cat is at city council meetings stirring it up down there.
Oh yeah, he's fucking it all up down there. Like he did a thing called Screwball, which was about the Balco steroid thing. One time I had him on the air promoting that, and he's done the Cocaine Cowboys, and I think he did a newer version of Cocaine Cowboys, kind of like a new millennial version. And
yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
How did your documentary do?
You know what? I didn't produce it. It was produced by Jordan Brady and Pat Reynolds, and Freestyle has it. I was just the subject of it. I got a lot of interest. Everybody that's seen it says that they love it, and I can't watch it. I just can't. I watch parts of it. I know what I said, and but everyone that's seen it likes it, and it's over on IMDb right now with about an 8 rating or something. And
I think it's available on iTunes.
It's on
Apple.
Prime Video. It's on iTunes. It's on Apple TV. It's I don't know where else, but
I think it's just called. I think it's the Phil Hendrie documentary.
It's called Hendrie.
Hendrie. Yeah, Hendrie.
Yeah. And so yeah, and we got a great bunch of people to go on the record on there. Pat did. Bill Hader, God bless Bill Hader, man. He just goes on about how some of my characters like Herb Sewell and Judd Apatow is on there, and Henry Rollins.
Henry Rollins is on there.
Kevin Pollak's on there. My friend Derek Waters is the producer, the creator of Drunk History. Wayne Fetterman. I know I'm forgetting somebody, man. I'm going to really be pissed off that I did, but there's some great people there.
Phil,
John Brandmeier's on there. And
how is Johnny B? I grew up in Chicago. I mean, I grew up listening to Chicago radio. Johnny, he was the man, and then he went to L.A. and kind of fucked it up a little. Like, I think he went to L.A. and L.A. wasn't what he wanted it to be, I think.
Well, I think Johnny was still on the air in Chicago. I think he came to L.A. to do some TV,
right?
Maybe,
right.
I think he's always been a monster in Chicago radio and in the areas where he, busted out. I think Los Angeles, I think his effort out here was more of a TV thing. But you know what, I'd kill, man, to have half that cat's, notoriety and audience.
And talk about a guy that I think did good with the bread. I think Johnny B did good with the bread.
Yeah. There's some dudes that I hear are really, like Adam Carolla told me that the most brilliant guy he knows in the business when it comes to business is Jimmy Kimmel. He says Jimmy is a guy who is funny, but he also just locks the money down.
Well, I think he makes like $31 million a year over there.
Right. He makes a lot, but when I got back to LA back in whenever the hell I got there, 96, 97, Jimmy was doing the Man Show with that. He was just doing a radio show,
Right. And he was wasn't he the stunt boy for KLOS or something like that?
I don't know. I think he was at K-Rock.
K-Rock. I'm sorry, K-Rock.
The man show at K-Rock, yeah, with Adam.
So the big franchises I think in LA are all gone. Obviously Rick's gone. Kevin and Bean gone,
man. Yeah, Mark and Brian are gone.
Mark and Brian.
Yeah, those were the days, man.
I mean, now, Seth, you went out there for a week, and you were supposed to produce who?
I got hired to produce the morning show on K-Rock, so it was Klein and Alley.
Who was it?
It was on K-Rock. Kevin Weatherly was the boss there. So This was just over the last year or so, and I went out there for a couple of weeks. And I think they were in 25th place, and the host wasn't listening to me. And I came back, and I was working at home in Florida, and I just go, I can't go back. I can't move my family. They're going to pay me $80,000. I was going to move my whole family out there. I was going to be driving fucking Uber Eats in a month, trying to make ends meet. And I just decided that I wasn't going to haul my family across because Phil and I've been in Tampa my whole life for radio, and I felt like California, LA. I felt like that was. I made it, and the fact that they called me, I got the job. I felt like, I had that moment, but then I just decided it wasn't worth it to disrupt my family and everything to go out there to try to, live some sort of K-Rock dream.
No, dude, not for 80 G's either.
Yeah.
That won't go a long way in Los Angeles, especially with a family.
Scott Shannon tried to hire me for pirate radio. Did you know that?
No, man.
Yeah, so
are you shitting me?
1989, I'm in
at the height.
Yeah, to fucking right when they're rolling it out, and I'm doing nights at KTFM in San Antonio, and Bubba the Love Sponge is my name, and he stole my name when he was doing at Z100 in New York. His traffic guy was Bubba the Love Sponge. Well, I
heard that, man.
Motherfucker.
Yeah.
So he calls me up and says, hey man, you want to be the night jock? You want to be the night jock at Pirate Radio? I'm like, yeah. He goes, I'm gonna send you. So I flew out there, and he meets me. This is way before 9/11, and so that's why you could literally meet a guy right at the gate. So he meets me right at the gate, and he pulls me in. And he goes, "Hey man, let's go ahead a few drinks here at this bar here." And we're still in the airport, and we're having drinks. And he goes to me, he goes, hey, man, Pirate Radio, man, I just want to let you know it's really kicking ass here in L.A., and Axl Rose listens to it, and everybody like that. And I just want to ask you just one question. Can you do this? I'm going to do a break for you. I want you to know. Can you do this? I said, okay, I'll listen. He goes, 100.7 Pirate Radio. And I go, yeah, I can fucking do that. Yeah, I can do that. And he goes, all right, well, for the first 3 weeks, that's all you're going to be saying is just 100.7 Bubba the Love Sponge Pirate Radio. And I'm like, well, what about all the phone calls and all the hot chicks and, all that kind of shit and the attitudinal rock? He goes, listen, man, you're just a tire on a chassis. The whole chassis is Pirate Radio, and you might be my right front tire, and I might just need you to play records for 2 or 3 months and not have any type of attitude or any type of personality. I want the morning show to recycle the personality into the night show, and then the night show. And I'm like, I don't think I can do that, Scott. I don't think that I can't. He goes, so this is so fucking brilliant. He goes, that's why I got a ticket that's returning back to San Antonio in 2 hours, my friend.
Bullshit, he did, really?
Yeah, I swear to God.
That's hardcore, man.
Then I went to B96 in Chicago instead, but I actually, and he offered me $115, 115, and I'm like, that seemed like a lot of money because I was making 35 in San Antonio.
In 89, that's pretty good bread, yeah.
That's not too bad,
Pretty decent, man, yeah.
But then,
I was morning drive at KLSX back in 87 when I was still a disc jockey doing 46,000 a year.
Wow.
In 88, 87, 88. And then, so I think 115 G's. That's all right, man.
In part of AFTRA and all that kind of deal, and
in the union, all that stuff, man.
I got my SAG card for doing a voiceover on Saints Row video game. Is how I got my SAG card.
For sure,
so
man. Yeah,
I keep up with the dues, but I don't know what it means.
Do you get residuals at all? Do you get a residual check?
No, no.
Well, those residual checks are nice, man. I get about 3,000. It's not a lot, but I got $3 or $4 grand. $3 grand a month on residuals alone.
Just from like Futurama and stuff like that?
Futurama, you name it, man. Every show I've ever been on. My agent called me up and he said, you're supposed to pay me commission on those residuals, don't you?
Like, I didn't even know you knew about it, motherfucker.
Exactly.
I had Richard Marx in here one time. And I thought Richard Marx was going to be like this adult contemporary kind of like,
Bubba, I got to dip out, by the way.
All right, go ahead.
All right, listen, Phil, it's been great talking to you, man.
Thank you, brother.
I'll continue with Phil just for a little bit longer. I'm like a little bitch. I got my radio guy here, But anyway, so I had Richard Marx in here. And so I thought he was going to be Johnny, adult contemporary, like not... Motherfucker was funny and dirty and starts singing some parody songs about John Legend being an asshole. And so then we get off the air, and I'm kind of walking him out to his car a little bit, and I go, and he was talking about his mailbox money. He's like, listen, the real money in radio, because I'm like, hey, Phil, hey, Richard, you've had 8 number 1 singles, and you've written, all this kind of shit, and like what's the most money you ever made? And he talked about how he would make all kinds of money and like how much he would make a gig. So I'm walking him out, and he goes, where the real money is the publishing and the licensing. And he goes, I've gone on and I've written 7 number 1 country songs that other people have sing that I own the rights to. And I go, wow. And he goes, so this is in 2008. And in 2008, he was making $9.5 million a year, and he called it mailbox money. Just mailbox bread. Just mailbox bread. Not any kind of gig bread, like not any kind of new album bread, but just back in the day, fucking writing publishing bread. 9.5 fucking million.
Yeah. Well, that's a great gig if you can get it, man. And then the other thing is, of course, protecting the rights to those songs. And that's a problem that I will always have. People taking my shit and
putting it up on YouTube, and you can't even fucking keep up with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a lawyer. It's like whack-a-mole, but
I got my federal, Bubba the Love Sponge and the Bubba Army and the Bubba Radio Network are all federally trademarked. So usually I can just send. I got that, obviously on a PDF, and I just send it right over to, But again, you take 2 down, and 3 weeks from now, 4 others will pop up, and I'll be hearing, hearing some of your bits on some,
yeah.
That and my clothing, my Bubba Army clothing, I got people stealing the Bubba Army logo all the time, putting, cafe press and stuff like that.
Hey, Bubba, do you send those takedowns yourself, or do you have your attorney do it?
I do it myself.
No shit, because when I was doing it, YouTube used to be really good at down it came. Then all of a sudden they're dragging their ass and asking me to resubmit, and we're missing some information, which is total bullshit. I mean, they're just they make their money on that stuff, so why would they want to take it down right away?
If you got like a little like kind of a little PDF that went through and just kind of like a template that you could just fire off to them,
right?
That showed your trademark or showed whatever, all the shit that you own and all the licensing, they usually are pretty good about it. They really are. Yeah, and stop paying that fucking lawyer, $600 an hour to do bullshit work for you.
Yeah, for sure.
So what kind of what kind of house you got out there in California?
I have a modest beach house. When I say beach house, I'm about 2 blocks from the sand. I got this house back in 2002, and I've owned it, for 20 years. I had a renter in here for a while. I was married, and then, we got divorced, and I got this house in the divorce, and she got the other bigger house. And
yeah, but boy,
nice house. I got 2 stories.
So you bought it in 2002 for X, and I mean, whoo, I got to think that this is one of those I bought for, $1.2 million, and it's worth $6.9 right now.
Oh yeah, well, it's gone up in value, and there's no question. I mean, this is California beach property is pretty, even now, pretty valuable. And I'm going to sell the house because I got to get closer to town anyway, Or if I go to Florida to be with Jackie, obviously,
you got to be that. You got to come where the pussy is. Come on, bud.
Shit, I'll tell her you said so, man.
Yeah, I mean, tell Jackie I'm her biggest proponent. I just want to know. I may not see you very often, but I just want to know that Phil is within driving distance of me.
Yeah, I can drive over, man.
And you can come over and do a couple shows here, whatever the fuck, man. I'd love to have you, my friend.
Yeah, that would be great.
Anyway, listen, I got to wrap it up, but more importantly, Phil, you just don't understand how much admiration I have for you, because I'm a true radio guy, and I'm so honored to talk to you, and I'm so proud of you for obviously people don't think that the Radio Hall of Fame is really that big a deal, but think about this. Let's say you're a bus driver or you're a fucking construction worker, and they had a Hall of Fame for what you do in life. Yeah. To be nominated in the Hall of Fame of what you have chosen for a career, meaning you're recognized as one of the best ever. Yeah. And as much as people think that the Radio Hall of Fame is a joke, it still gives you it just gives you a little swag and makes you feel good about yourself. I
didn't believe it when they told me, and I'll tell you something. This is true, man. During the first 17 years of my career, I was really lost. I didn't like what I was doing. I didn't want to be a disc jockey. I wasn't funny. I tried to be. I sucked. I don't even think people really knew I was on the air. And I remember walking to my job one morning. I got out of my car and I'm walking, and I was 35 years old at the time, saying how I wish I could restart my career. How I wish I could go back to the beginning and do it all over again. But I couldn't.
Now, what market was this, Phil?
I was in L.A.
Oh, okay.
I was doing mornings.
So you're doing more. Hold on. You're doing mornings in L.A. and you're like, this fucking sucks. I hate it.
Yep. Yeah. It really was. I was playing their music, and I had a program director who was telling me to shut up and play the records. You know the type.
Right.
And
those kinds of guys don't like me and you at all. They hate us.
No, man. It was their music is God.
Right.
So I got fired from that job, and I finally told myself, I was on a train. I was headed to Seattle to see a girlfriend or something, but I remember sitting there and saying, I don't care if I die. I'm going to do the kind of work that I want to do. I don't care if I don't get another job. I don't care if I have to work in a small market. I'm going to do what I want to do. That's when I made the decision to just throw all the shit away, be myself. And I'm not trying to tell everybody this is a lesson in life, but it kind of is, man. At some point, you got to step off the cliff and trust that the chute's going to open.
And I'm kind of there, and I'm having a guy that I look up to, as the highest entity of radio, you and Howard. And, obviously he's not on terrestrial radio, and he cut the cord, so to speak. And I'm there where I'm ready to just offer my library, do a show on my own, whatever, noon to 3 show, and be self-supported of, my YouTube channel. I got 115,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel.
That's great, man. You're doing great, Bubba. I mean, I think you've committed to being the performer and the artist that you always wanted to be. I think you've already done that. I know there's the sky's the limit. I mean, there's many more places to go. But when we get out from underneath the thumb of the people that we want to please, and start pleasing ourselves, that's when life begins to get better. So,
Phil, man, always been a huge fan, my friend. And tell Jackie I'm pulling for her. I'm her Florida Union rep, okay, my friend?
I definitely will.
And thank you for answering my text. And let's keep in touch, bud.
Anytime, man. Anytime. Love you. Thank you so much for everything that you've done for me, Bob. I appreciate it. And it was great talking with you this morning.
So proud of you, my friend. Good luck to you. And I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much, Phil.
All right, man. I love everybody out there, too. Thank you so much.
Bye, buddy. Thank you.
Hey, buddy. Right, bye-bye.
I love Phil Hendrie. Fucking absolutely love that guy. I don't even know if most of you people can appreciate what he represents in radio. When you got Howard Stern, Howard and I are having a meeting, and I ask Howard, who's your favorite radio guy? He's like, fucking Phil Hendrie. I'm like, me too. Phil Hendrie, Jim Rome, Howard Stern, Rush Limbaugh. Those, are my Mount Rushmores of radio. Clem Kush, but Kush bailed because he's got to get ready for some other bullshit. So
he's very funny. He wants more money and more mic time. He's got anxiety. He's got depression. He takes